Las Vegas, the 1960s, a neon oasis rising from the Nevada desert. The mob built it, the Rat Pack made it cool, and millions of dreamers came here seeking fortune. In this era of Sinatra and slot machines, of showgirls and high-stakes gambling, one woman would pull off some of the most audacious casino heists in history. But unlike the loud, brash robberies that made headlines, her method was subtle, sophisticated, and nearly impossible to detect. To understand how Ida Summers became the most successful casino con artist of the 20th century, we need to go back to where it all began. Born in 1934 in Dust Bowl, Oklahoma, Ida Marie Summers entered a world where survival meant being clever, and opportunities for women were limited. Her father, a small-time gambler himself, inadvertently planted the seeds of her future career. By age 12, she could shuffle a deck better than most card dealers. By 15, she was winning local poker games with a smile that made losers forget their losses. The Great Depression had left its mark on every family in Oklahoma, including the Summers. Ida watched her mother work double shifts at the local diner while her father chased elusive poker winnings. These early years taught her two crucial lessons. Money meant freedom, and charm was as valuable as skill. But it was during high school that Ida discovered her extraordinary talent, an almost supernatural ability to control cards with her small, nimble fingers. Local card sharks would lose their weekly wages to this unassuming girl, who seemed to have magic in her fingers. But it wasn't magic, it was countless hours of practice. Late into the night, Ida would stand before her mirror, perfecting every movement until it became invisible. She studied everything she could find about cards, mathematics, probability, psychology. While other girls dreamed of marriage and family, Ida dreamed of bigger stakes. By 1955, Vegas was booming. The desert outpost had transformed into America's playground. The newly opened Riviera and Royal Nevada casinos joined established joints like the Flamingo and El Rancho Vegas. Air conditioning and cheap buffets lured tourists from across the country, while millions in cash flowed through casino counting rooms every day. For a young woman with extraordinary skills and ambitious dreams, it was irresistible. Ida arrived in Las Vegas with nothing but a small suitcase and big plans. The city was different then, rougher, more intimate, more vulnerable. The mob still ran the casinos, law enforcement was easily persuaded to look the other way, and casino security focused on crude cheaters and card counters. Nobody was watching for a beautiful woman playing just a little too well. In 1958, Ida landed a job as a blackjack dealer at the Flamingo Hotel. She was everything the casino wanted: elegant, charming, and seemingly innocent. Standing at just 5'2" and barely 100 pounds, she looked incapable of threatening the house. But while she dealt cards to tourists and high rollers, she was studying, learning, planning. For 18 months, Ida absorbed every detail of casino operations: how the cards moved through the table, how the money flowed through the count rooms, most importantly, how security worked and where its blind spots were. During her dealing days, Ida noticed something crucial. The biggest winners weren't the lucky ones, but the ones who went unnoticed. The flashy high roller drawing attention at the craps table was watched like a hawk, while the quiet player making modest but consistent wins barely drew a glance. This observation would become the foundation of her strategy. What made Ida extraordinary was her mastery of three sophisticated cheating techniques. The first was hand mucking, perhaps the most difficult sleight-of-hand move in existence. Hand mucking requires hiding a card in plain sight while maintaining perfect composure. Your heart rate can't change, your hands can't shake. One wrong move and you're caught. Most magicians spend years mastering this for stage shows. Ida did it surrounded by cameras, pit bosses, and suspicious players. She developed her technique through endless practice. In her small apartment off the strip, she would practice for hours, filming herself with a home movie camera to study her movements. Every gesture had to appear natural, every card manipulation invisible. She learned to control her breathing, to maintain conversation while executing complex sleight of hand, to smile genuinely while her fingers performed microscopic miracles. Her second technique was the peek, a move so subtle it looked like nothing more than a dealer checking the deck. But in that split second, Ida could read and memorize multiple cards, tracking them through the shuffle. The peek requires perfect finger sensitivity and extraordinary memory. You're not just glimpsing one card, you're tracking multiple cards through multiple shuffles, calculating odds and probabilities in real time. Ida's memory was so precise she could recall the position of every significant card even after multiple shuffles. But it was her third technique that would make her legendary: the cooler, a pre-stacked deck designed to deal specific hands to specific positions. Switching an entire deck of cards without detection isn't just difficult. Most experts considered it impossible. A cooler isn't just a stacked deck, it's a precision instrument. Every card is positioned exactly where it needs to be to create specific winning hands. The deck has to be perfectly broken in to match the casino's cards. The edges need to be identical. Even the way it sounds when shuffled has to be perfect. By 1965, Ida had moved beyond solo operations. She began recruiting a team that would help her pull off increasingly ambitious scores. Her criteria were strict absolute discretion, perfect timing, and unwavering nerve. She would spend weeks observing potential recruits before making contact, studying their habits, their reliability, and their ability to maintain composure under pressure. Each team member underwent months of training. In a rented house in North Las Vegas, Ida created a mock casino floor where they would practice their routines for hours. They developed an elaborate system of signals that let them communicate across a crowded casino floor without saying a word. Ordering specific drinks signaled different opportunities. Adjusting clothing indicated security positions. Hand gestures communicated card values. Even the way they walked through the casino carried messages. The team operated like a well-oiled machine. Spotters would identify vulnerable tables and alert the others. Distraction specialists would create precisely timed interruptions. Mechanics would execute the technical moves while money handlers managed the cash flow. They never hit the same casino twice in a row, never won too much in one session, and never got greedy. From 1965 to 1968, Ida's team hit every major casino in Las Vegas. Their estimated take was over $500,000 per year, more than $4 million in today's money. But their most legendary heist was yet to come. June 15, 1967, the Stardust Casino. What happened that night would change casino security forever. The plan involved 3 teams working different tables, coordinated distractions timed to the second, multiple coolers ready for different scenarios, and escape routes planned through every casino exit. In a single night, they walked away with $103,000 without raising a single alarm. But success bred confidence, and confidence bred risk. By late 1967, casino security was starting to notice patterns. The wins were too consistent, too precise. The house always notices when it's losing too much. Modern casinos use computers to track wins and losses, but in the 1960s, it came down to human observation, and the pit bosses were starting to watch more closely. December 1967. At the Sands Casino, Ida faced her closest call yet. A pit boss had been tracking her team's movements for weeks. The trap was set, security was closing in. Just as they approached her table, Ida executed what witnesses would later call a masterpiece of misdirection. A perfectly timed medical emergency that created just enough chaos for her team to vanish along with $80,000 in winnings. But even the best runs come to an end. In 1969, a joint operation between casino security and the FBI finally caught Ida attempting to switch a cooler at the dunes. The evidence was overwhelming. Multiple marked cards, modified shoes for hiding coolers, detailed accounting of their takes, witness testimonies from former team members. Yet in her final performance, Ida proved she still had one last trick up her sleeve. Her court appearance was a masterclass in manipulation. She appeared vulnerable, contrite, and thoroughly charming. When asked about her techniques, she spoke with such technical expertise that even the judge seemed more impressed than angry. Final sentence: 1 year probation, no jail time. The Vegas Vixen had worked her magic one last time. Today, Ida Summers' techniques are required study for casino security worldwide. Her schemes led to the development of modern shuffle machines, multi-angle surveillance systems, deck tracking technology, dealer rotation protocols, and advanced player monitoring systems. Every time a casino installs a new security measure, they're building on lessons learned from the woman who exposed their vulnerabilities with nothing but skilled hands and nerves of steel. In a city built on chance, Ida Summers proved that skill could beat any odds. At least for a while. She may have lost her final hand, but she left behind a legend that Vegas will never forget. Some say she still lives quietly in the Southwest, occasionally visiting casinos not to gamble, but to admire the security measures her career inspired. In the end, she changed not just how casinos guard their money, but how we understand the very nature of advantage and opportunity in the gambling world.